it's Don, the Auction Professor. Today, I thought I would talk a little bit on how I research items. I've had a lot of questions on that. I'm going to go over postcards because I have more questions on paper and postcards than anything else. So I'm going to take us over to the screen just a couple minutes here, and then I'm going to show you how I look for that specific card. That'll really give you a real good idea on how to price things, and I'm going to go over a lot of the details on how I decide on setting a price and what I look at and how I decide key factors in determining that price. And whatever I'm doing, whether it's a postcard or not, I use the same exact steps to determine prices on any item I do. So I'm just picking postcards today because I do a lot of that, and it's a big high money dollar item that you can find yourself for a couple dollars or less. So that's what we're going to do. I'll show you a photo first of the actual item, both sides, and we'll refer back to it throughout the search so you can kind of see. But that's what I'm going to do today, and hopefully this will help some folks determining pricing on your items, on these paper items and things like that, because it's still a puzzle to many people, and it's not as difficult as long as you spend the time in doing some of the research that I do. But we're going to go over to the screen right now, and I will go in depth on how I do the research.
Okay, as I've said, we're going to show you the postcards. I literally just picked postcards, but you can research anything the same way. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're looking up. You're still going to use the same basic tools. It's all eBay, so I'm just going to start with a completed section, and I'm only going to be in collectibles for something like this. That'll eliminate some issues. And this one here, as you see, is McConnellsburg, PA. It's a nice city street scene. It's probably circa 1910, 20-ish. Yeah, somewhere in that range, probably 1915, 1920. We're going to go type this in here, and we are going to look up the first one. And again, I'm going to give you the idea on what to price these at based on what you see. And that's the key to this, you know, knowing how much to put on something. I always do it by highest first. Just a given for me. Somebody's got the wrong item in this category, but that's fine. Actually, we'll go to postcards as well, too. Get rid of that. There we are. And then from here, I'll just look in what street this is. This is Lincoln Way. And we're just going to type in Lincoln. That's all I need to do on this. And we'll see what happens. Actually, I thought that was the same area right there. Let's move down a little bit and see what else we can find. Any buildings? This is City Hotel is in here, so we can look for that too. Let's see here. McDowell Hotel. That's not quite the same one, but it actually looks like it probably is. And that one went for 16. That'll be our reference right here. This is pretty much the same building look-alike as the one we have on our card. It is a hotel. It is from the same area. It is from Lincoln Way. It says Way on the card, but that's Highway. They just abbreviated it. So it looks like maybe the hotel has changed. It was just City Hotel at the time, or maybe it's under a different owner. This one here has a phone booth sign on the wall. There's a beer sign. It's got some good content in this one here. Let's see here, what's this one? Lincoln Highway. So all together we can look and see, we can conclude that the Lincoln Highway cards seem to sell. There's quite a few from this town that have sold in the top. I'm not going to worry about these down here that we're looking at now. These are outside of town. They're just country scenes. City scenes are what you're going to be looking for as we get down less and less. No city scenes down here at all, so none of the regular just Junko cards like that sells. So this one here, the city card that we're looking at, looks like it's actually a pretty darn good card. And again, I'm going to use this one as my judgment here. This is 1650. Looking at my card is probably older than this. The city hotel name is different. So I'm actually going to put, say, 3450. This is what I'm going to put on this one. Now, I'm going to have these listed here within the week or so you can kind of see where these go from here. You'll get a good idea on what I do. And when I'm listing this one, I'm going to be adding in Main Street. I'll put in Lincoln Way, cars, telephone signs, or something like that. I'm going to fill it up with the contents on the card, which are, you know, the buggies on the street, the signs, and the hotel itself, too. So that's actually a good one. That's $34.50 I'm putting on it. like this one here, if this one sold for $16.50, the person could have probably put it up for a $34 or $35, make an offer, and he could have sold it for $25 maybe, somewhere in that range. Because here's one right here, same basic areas, hotel kind of thing, $24.95. Here's the same lodge. Let me go down and look. Yeah, these are the same kind of lodges. Again, that one's $24.95, $24.95. And this looks like it's the same basic building here as well, but this is a real picture. So I'm going to leave it at $34.50. So we're going to go with that. And we'll move on to the next card. The next one here you see is a Art Nouveau bordered background on a Canal Dover, Ohio postcard. Now this is an oddball one. This is probably early, turn of the century, maybe even 1890s. Let me see here. Yeah, 1898 to, 1907-ish era. There's no dividing vertical lines, so that would say that it's prior to 1907. Let's see, Dover. And there it is. There's a Canal Dover. I would say this is probably going to be a decent card here, too. These are just random cards I picked. And these are going to be, taking those photographs you see here. I'm going to actually just go ahead and use those for the listing on this. But let's see here. We can narrow this down just a little bit more. On something like this, if there's thousands of them up, you're going to do Canal Dover, and then let's put in school. Gives us an idea. I wouldn't just put in the name of the school because there might be several schools, and you want to kind of gist on what's selling. This is from Canada. That pretty much, most people aren't going to mess with that. I wouldn't really count that as one either. Let's go back and look back again at the city again because there isn't any school. And that's actually a good thing. It's an Art Nouveau border. I'm gearing on this one to put, say, $37.50 on it. There's just a common church. That's a real picture postcard. Nothing fancy. This is probably at least comparable to the card we have here in condition. When they're little, small towns like this, and there's only 48, cards from that whole city available, that's usually a good sign. $10.50. This one they might have been able to get $17.50 had they done it buy it now. I don't see anything as fanciful or interesting as this one. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put $37.50 on this one and list Art Nouveau in the title. It's, circa 1900. And as I said, $37.50 I'm going to put on this card, and I'm going to use Art Nouveau in the title. Let's see here. Put that aside. Let's look at the next one now. Salem. I've actually been to Salem. Salem's a nice little town. We actually stayed in the House of Seven Gables. Interesting thing. Let's hear here. This one here, we're going to say it's from the 40s, loaded with signs. So we're going to put Essex and Salem, and we're going to hit enter and see what happens. Here's another Essex. Now, every card I get isn't worth something. So, that's just how it is. So I might run into some here that aren't worth anything. That's just a fact of life. That's why I look up everything. I don't want to list something unless it's worth something. And when you're searching for things like this too, normally if there's only 77, I'm not going to use any of these and narrow it down because sometimes people list in the wrong category. They'll list under other, they'll list art, and it'll be actually a town view or something, or listed in real photo. So you kind of have to be cautious on that. I don't see much selling from Salem. Essex Street, this looks pretty darn close to the same area. There's some that sell. These are all earlier that I see up now. Ours is newer, and sometimes that can be a plus. Let's see here. Still don't see anything like it, but they're still selling $5 or so at least for these just common cards. Most of these inside views aren't worth anything. This is a new one right here. That's a person. I wouldn't worry about that. Early ones. We're just going to go ahead and throw $7.99 on this. What the heck? There's enough potential from what I see up on the top. There's a couple cheapos. There's nothing anywhere similar to this style of card. There's nothing, showing cars and the whole works like this. Nothing from this age whatsoever, and there's a few that do sell. So we're just going to throw $7.99 on this one here and just take whatever happens. I don't really worry. I've got like a penny or two into some of these cards. And, that's just how this works. I don't care if I have to list something and it may not sell right away. I've got cards that I've had, for a year or two, and they still sell that rate. Okay, this one's Kendallville, the next one here, Kendallville. Indiana, and we're going to just put in Publix. I'm sure this is probably related to the new Publix that's out and about town these days. Let's see here. May 5th. Chances are this person probably didn't relist it. What I see a lot on postcards is people will list them once and then maybe relist them a second time, and then they get rid of them, and they'll think it's not worth anything. But postcards are a long-term residual income basis. So on something like the Publix card here, I'm just going to go ahead and throw $7.99. Well, actually, I see one below it for $7.99. We're going to put $14.50 on this card. Just judging by what I see here, the Kendallville. Let's back up a little bit here and just see Kendallville one time just to make sure there isn't anything odd. Yeah, and there's some decent cards right off the bat. Let's see here. This is actually a trade card. They've got that in the wrong section. One below it's in the wrong section. The one below that's in the wrong section. Let's see here. Yeah, we're just going to leave $7.99. I don't see anything drastic, but it looks like something that could sell. And again, just because that one didn't sell at 9 doesn't mean anything. It does not mean a single solitary thing. We're going to guess this at the 19, let's see, car-wise, no cars. By the gas pumps in the car I do see, we're going to put 1940s as the era from this. Okay. And we're going to move on to the next one here. This one here, as you can see, it's a real picture postcard. We're going to type in the name on the bottom, Boyer. Now, this is a hand-tinted card. Somebody has actually hand-brushed the design on there. And it's a clown, so let's type in that. Let's literally type in Boyer and clown. That's probably the best chance you're going to get. Here's Boyer right here. There's some Boyer here. This isn't anybody famous, so that let's get rid of the clown and just see if Boyer in general sells. $6.99, $6.99, and then the same card from Australia, shipping for $15. So that's not a judge. So I just throw out the ones from Australia. And even the Greece one did sell, but Australia's a long ways away. That's even less. The U.S. one sold. I'm going to go ahead and put $9.99 on this clown. And you can look other ways too. Let's do RPPC for real picture postcard and boy, clown, well. That's what I see in this picture. It may not come up with results, but we are going to give it a shot. Boys clowning around with feathers on the floor. That one's not comparable. We're going to make sure we write hand tinted on this one too. That way one of my listers, when they're listing these cards, can go ahead and put that in the detail too. As I'm showing you these, I'm writing the price down for my employees too. This way I'm killing two birds with one stone. These are actually cards I'm going to list. So, again, these are just randomly pulled out of a stack. No special, look-throughs or anything ahead of time. So far, my look abilities and my sourcing abilities, every one of these cards, my opinion is that should sell at some point for a decent price. Okay, the next one here, we have South Berwick, Maine. It's actually a trolley car, it looks like. Yeah, it's a trolley car on a bridge. So we're going to do South Berwick as the town, and we're just going to put bridge. And we will probably get something similar. Yeah, there's a couple right here. None of these compare to this whatsoever. So we're going to back this up. Our cards circa like 1910, 1920 at the latest. But let's go from here and just see what we get. There's only 22. That's a small amount from this town. This is probably close to the same, comparable any one of these. I know these look like the real pictures. That one's probably not. But they're the comparable kind of card. Obviously, it's not showing the same thing, but they're, outside of the city scenes that people are buying. And those all sold, too. And I see quite a few that actually sold. Most of the cards from this town seem to have sold that are town-related. This looks like it's this is a repro. That's why that didn't sell. That one sold. That one sold. Let's see. Is that one a list down here? Nope. There's one that hasn't sold. Down here, let's look up a little farther, and everything else is sold. So, there's a few as we get higher that haven't sold, but I'm not going to concern myself with those. Trolleys, bridges, and things like that, toll bridges especially, sell very well. That would go in the title, the Elliott Toll Bridge and trolley. I would literally put trolley car in the title. This one here I'm going to price at $22.50. Again, I see them going for 10 or so bucks or so, 8, 10 bucks. I'm at least going to double whatever I see on those as a buy it now. If they were sold as a buy it now, anything, I don't count those. It just gives you the idea that they're going to sell, or you have a high chance on selling. Like here, he could have sold this one for 12 bucks. This one could have been sold for 12 or 15. It just depends on what you put on it. And just because he sold this one for 12 doesn't mean it wasn't worth 24, 25 bucks. So that's what you have to take into account here. And here's another one. This one sold immediately. He got, 10 bucks. He might have been able to get, more than that out of it. Here's another one. He sold for 10 bucks. He might have been able to get more out of that. I don't really worry as long as I see them selling. It's selling again. This one here, $8.99. That's from a different town, so we'll discard that. Sorry. That one sold. So we're going to go with the $22.50 on this card. And you're going to have to use some of your own judgments. When you see cards and they have trolleys in them, and they're small towns like that bridge scene we just looked up, those seem to sell for me. Bridges and trolleys all the time I sell. And they're usually quaint, oddball things, and they're scarce cards, because who's going to want to buy that one from the store? So chances are there aren't many of those available. That's a good thing sometimes for issues like that. On this one. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Logansport. This one should be fairly easy to look up. It's an early one. This is probably 1898 to 1907. Somewhere in that range. Just by looking at what's not in the picture, there are no. Actually, there's a few light poles, but there's no cars that I can see in the picture at all. Just wagons and buggies. So, that gives you an idea there. But we're going to type in this one, Logansport, and then Broadway. And there's actually the same basic card. Actually, this one's actually different. That's $7.99 and $7.87. How many were there total? There's 16 from this area. And I don't see any similar to this. They still sell 2 something, 3, 4. That one's sold there. That's a newer one. We're going to use the $7.99 judgment out of this one here. Again, you see this one up here. This person may have just listed it once and then just got rid of it. You never know. I mean, that's what happens all the time. So I'm just going to go ahead and put, say, $12.50. And what you see on his too, it's a buy it now. There's no make an offer. So if I put $12.50 make an offer, I'm probably going to sell it. I'd probably sell it for $7, $8. Again, these are $1 or less for every card I get. And I don't care if it sits there for a little while. Let's move on to the next one. Here we go. Here's a town cash store. This is Lakeville. And let's just type in store because, maybe it's a small town. I'm not sure on every town, obviously. Actually, there's quite a few, so I'm glad we typed in store. Let's see here. In fact, there's basically the same thing. Yes, that is. Now, this is a reproduction, it looks like. Yeah, these are reproductions. We have the original. And that's from Australia. That's kind of odd. Somebody who thinks that he's going to sell it if he keeps relisting, day after day after day. He lists it for one day, probably, and then lets it end and then relists it. I don't know what the benefit is on that. Maybe he's testing. I don't know. But he's pretty much jammed up the whole thing. And I see this quite often. It's usually the same gentleman here, but I don't see anything. Let's just back up here, and let's back up for just a second. Let's put in, just leave the city. There's probably going to be several states that have this city, though. Yeah. Let's just do one more thing, and if we can't find this one, we see that somebody's reproduced the same one we have. So let's look up this one last thing here, and if we don't find anything, we are going to, nope. I'm going to assume this is a fairly decent card. It's an oddball. Somebody from the family is probably going to want this one. I'm going to throw $34.50 on it and use my own judgment to say, hey, that's a good call. There isn't one of these up, so, this could be a killer one here. It could be something that hits a big hit right off the bat. I can't say for sure, but we're just going to give it a shot. You never know till you try it. Here's another one. This one should be the waterfront in Cedar Island. Let's go ahead and do Cedar Island and Clinton. Now this one should just limit it right off the bat. I doubt there's too many Clintons and Cedar Islands right next to each other. Actually, that one's there. Let's back up. If I type in Clinton, there's going to be a ton of them. There's all kinds of cities or states with Clinton. This is, I guess, one of those times I'm going to have to go in and source this a little easier. This is Connecticut, and I actually, let's see, is there Connecticut? Yes, there is. So let's just narrow this down. Nope. So we're going to go, since we're already here, and do Clinton. Clinton. And just go from there. And just see what we get. Statue, Cemetery, Clinton. That's not a real picture, so it has potential here. This is a nice, I would call this a bird's eye view, and I would literally write that in the title. Bird's eye view, and I'm just going to put, say, $9.99 on this one. I don't have any confirms of anything. Again, bird's eye view is what I would call this. Bird's eye view cards usually sell better than just standard typical cards. No date on this. I would probably put, say, 1910-20, and we're going to again put $9.99 on this one here and just go from there. Let's move on to the next one. The next one here, let's see here. Island Cabin, Lake Hebron, Wassoo, Maine. So we're going to type in the city here. And again, I usually use, when somebody writes something on it, I usually use that. Now, there's nothing on the back of this. That does not mean it's not a postcard. That's probably what this is. It just, you know, they took it. They just didn't have the back printed on it. We're going to list it in the postcard. It's the exact same size. I'm probably spelling this wrong. Let's see here. Let's just do a Google search. And we're going to do Lake Hebron. It might be Hebron. They might have that. Yeah, Hebron. And it is Maine, so here we go. Lake Hebron. I've got it spelled wrong. So let's just go back over here. Let's do Lake Hebron. Again, it's hard to read some of these sometimes, but, you know, you're going to get the gist of it, hopefully. So let's see here. We're going to write that on there, too, so my lister doesn't mix that up. And then we'll hit the search button. There we go. Grateful Dead ticket. Well, interesting item. This one's kind of iffy. I don't see any real picture postcards. Real photo, there's one. Monson, that's what it is. See, so we can't make out it. So now we know it's Monson, Maine. So we got that on there. This is a RPPC. I'm just going to throw something. I'm going to throw it, you know, for comparable cards. I don't see anything similar to this. It's an oddball place, probably something that you're just not going to see anymore. I'm going to put, say, $37.50 on this card. It's a real picture postcard. Who knows? You know, we can lower it down at some other point. But for right now, I don't see anything like it. And it's an iffy one. Now, I don't want to give it away. I could do it as an auction, but that's still not a good stake. It only takes one person to think this is worth money. If you put it in an auction, you've got several people who might be bidding and thinking, you know, that it's not worth anything, one or two of those people. So it's going to defeat your purpose. Let's go up here and look up another one. Again, some of these you're just going to have to wing it. There's just no way to get these otherwise. You're just going to have to wing it. Let's do this. Put the name in there, and then we're just going to put the town. If this is something well known, it should show up. As you see here, it's from Bar Harbor, Maine. It does have some ink smeared on the front of the card, unfortunately, but that's just the breaks. Let's see here. This one's actually just not worth listing, so we're just going to pull this one out of the stack and just get rid of the card. That's what you're going to run across sometimes. Sometimes the cards just aren't worth listing. And you can see several here, nothing, no action whatsoever. Let's see here. This is Kaiser Ridge. Okay, so this is a real picture postcard. This is from Maryland. Now we're going to type that in there and just go from here. It's not going to find them in there, so we're going to pop up over to here, and that will clear off our categories again. So now we're up just looking randomly. And this actually, these all look the same as this one here. Yep, these are pretty much the same thing, a little different version of it, but not too bad version. Let's see here. One sold. This one didn't sell. These two look like they're the, yeah, these two are the same one. And he's doing them auction too, so 50 cents free shipping. I don't know how he can afford to do that. I would never do that. basically giving away for the postage. This one's an iffy one. You do see one that's sold here. It's unused. Let's look at that now. Is this one unused? No back. Well, that doesn't help. In fact, this one here, is it not? It looks like. Nope. I would say no. We're just going to give this one a shot. I'm going to put $5.99. I'm going to literally, it does look like it's 1920s or 30s, so we're going to put 1920s, just like he has. RPPC, and I'm just going to put $7.99. You know, it'll be a best offer, so who knows? Maybe I'll get offered $4 for it, $5. Doesn't really matter. Some of these, you know, I buy in huge lots, so it's not a huge concern for me at all when I buy them that way. You know, if a bunch aren't worth money, it's not going to hurt me at all. I'll just throw them in a big lot at the end, or whatever else I need to do, and, you know, I'm just going to move on from there. So that's how I do it. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Now, this one here is a very interesting real picture postcard. He has a pistol in his overalls, and I'm actually going to write that on here, and that's what my listers will put in here. And he's smoking a pipe. So it's a rather interesting why he would have a pistol. It's beyond me. But these kind here, I'm not even going to bother looking this one up. This one here should sell fairly well. I'm going to put, say, $34.50 on it, and we're going to look it up here too. We're going to just put pistol, real picture, postcard, and then pipe. And again, that's what I see out of this. This is the key area. This person put this one too low. I'll tell you right now. I've sold one just like this or similar with 2 people in it for $35 just the other day. Again, these are all like staged photos. This guy's outside. He's got a real pistol. These ones here are probably not even, you know, might even be from a movie or something. But those are just like stage photo. This one here we have is a real guy. I'm just going to leave my $34.50 on this one here and go from there. Again, these real ones like this with just random people, you're just going to have to feel for it. Let's put in man, and maybe it'll come up something this way. Man, pistol. Yeah, here's a couple. Now here, I just said $34.50. Here's a good example. This guy here, he's got a pistol. Young guy, and it went for $34.50. This one here, $19.99. It's to buy it now, so who knows what it would have went for. Let's see here. That one's a little interesting. He'll probably sell that one. That one's a real nice one. But again, who knows? I'm just going to put the $34.50, and we're going to go from there. I think it's a good shot. It's something different. It should sell. Let's see here. Here's the next one here. This is Seal Harbor. It even says who took this one here. As you can see, it's a nice real picture postcard. So we're just literally going to do Seal Harbor. There's probably only 2 Seal Harbors that I can remember. And real picture postcard, RPPC. And again, I don't see anything selling yet. Let's look down just a little more. Again, every card isn't worth money. So you never know. But I don't actually see this one in here at all. No, I don't see this. I'm going to just go ahead and put this one $9.99. Most real picture postcards that are like this, that are from a small town, usually do sell. This one has the studio's name on it, and that's what we're going to write on it, the studio's name. So it'll be Charles Townsend and then the city. And that will get us to where we need to be, I would say. Charles Townsend and then Seal Harbor, Maine. And, you know, that's literally what I'll put on this one. Maine. And we're going to make sure we have RPPC for the listing, this one, in the title too. But that one, I bet you this one will sell. You'll be surprised. And the last of the 15, this one's from Hudson, Wisconsin, and it's 2nd Street. So we're just going to go back up here. Hudson, and we need 2nd, I'm sorry, 2nd, and if I can type correctly, Hudson, and then the 2nd Street. Right off the bat, I see several here that went fairly well. There's only 4 from this street here. And ours looks like it should do fairly well. We're going to use these 2 as my judgment. This one went as a buy it now, top-rated seller. And again, top-rated seller people sell before anybody else's stuff. That's just a given in my book, and whatever I've seen and whoever I talk to tells me the same thing. All my friends, all the people I know who do eBay personally all say the same thing. So the top rated seller one, he got the best deal out of this. Let's see here. And again, this is an auction. These both could have went for the same price had this person put this up as a buy it now. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one up as a buy it now too, but I'm going to put $27.50 on it. It's an early one. It has signs, buggies. These are all things that I put in the listing. I'm going to put Maine, and it'll say 2nd Street as well too. This is circa 1900 to say 1910. But that's literally what you're going to do. This one again, $27.50. I try to double it at least from what I see other comparable cards, and this is comparable. This one here that went for $12.74. That is a comparable card to what we're selling here. May not be the exact same image, but it's comparable. So, and it's from the same small town. You've got a 50-50 chance on whether these are going to sell from what I see here. This one's a little out of the ordinary. People don't buy churches as much, and this isn't even from the same town. So, you know, we've actually only have 1, 2, 3, so we've got a 66% sell-through rate on what I see in this cards from 2nd Street. So I think that's a fairly good ranking on what we could get out of the card. But again, this is how I look up everything. Anything you look up, you can look it up this way. You know, type in as little information as you can. As you see, I've just got Hudson in 2nd. We're in the postcard section, so that helps out too. That eliminates a lot of the other junk in there. Now, if I just typed in like Hudson on this, I'm going to get probably a ton of them. Yeah, see, there's 5,000. Because Hudson, New York, there's probably a ton of. Another key thing you can do here, if you're showing and you're looking for any oddball thing, put a quote in front of the word, and it's only going to show you, it might not change it in this aspect, but in some aspects of it, it's going to show you things that you don't really aren't looking for. It's going to show you similar items. When you put in the quotes on either side of the word, it only is going to show you those items with that word in it. So that's going to help you out in some searches. Obviously not in this one because Hudson's very specific, and I'm sure there's literally Hudson written in all of these. There's Hudson River, you know, Hudson Empire. There's just a ton of Hudson things that could show up. So, you know, let's just narrow this down just a hair more and just show you the other way, you know, you'd have to go. So we'd have to go and actually find the city. So if you want to narrow it down without, you know, putting the street in it, you'd go to Hudson and, you know, type in Hudson and then go to Wisconsin. And there's still actually not that many Hudsons up either. So, you know, we could go from here, but I think I'm fairly good on what the price I put on the card. There's a few others selling, but the scenes, the street scenes are what you want. I don't see the specific scene in here. Still don't see it. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at $27.50. And again, I write down the dates that these go up. I write it down. It's coded with the actual bin number that these are written with. So from there, I can literally discount it at some other point in the future without any problem at all. It's going to show up on a calendar on what days they were listed. And then I can literally, you know, every, 2 months or so, I just refer back to that calendar. And anything listed, you know, within a certain time frame, I'll be able to pull right up. It's all linked together. So, but that's literally how you do a search. That'll give you your best bet for finding, postcards. It works for trade cards. Whatever you're doing, that's what you're going to have to do. There's many, many times that you're not going to find the same item whatsoever for sale on eBay at all. Postcards, there could only be a couple of any ones left. A lot of these postcards may have been printed in a small town by a small store. So when that happens, that there's only so many of these things available. There may only be, 100, 200 of these ever printed. So don't ever count on, another one just like it being available. You're going to have to use similar items, not the same item. You're going to have to just judge it by the city, if that's all you've got to go by. Holiday cards are easier to some extent because you can kind of judge what's in them. But that's just the basics here. There's more things that I do when I'm searching sometimes, but this will get you to where you need to be. This is going to help you get prices and help you to determine at least a starting point for most postcards. And again, if something sells at a buy it now, I do not count that always because they could have listed it too cheap. Like this one here, the perfect example, the one we've already looked at. They listed it for $12.74 buy it now. We have no idea what this card could have went for. $12.74, which is what somebody happened to be lucky and sell it for. They could have put $27.50 on this, and it could have sold for $27.50. That's the key here. It means a difference, if it's a buy it now versus an auction. Like this auction here, somebody could have listed this same card, as I said, for, 1850, 2450, and it might have still sold. It only takes the one person to be interested in your card. And I see a bunch that aren't listed, but we can pick these apart. These are new, these are common. That's a new common one. You can tell by looking at the images. I mean, that's just how I see it. PMC isn't a popular brand, so I'm not going to worry about that one. That's PMC, not a popular brand. I'm just going to leave it with that. That's literally what I'm going to do. This is a newer one. And again, they put these up, a lot of people. They'll list them once. Like this one here. This one probably wasn't relisted. He didn't sell it. Boom. He might relist it just once and then just chunk them out at the end. A lot of people think that if you don't sell it the first time around or on a relist, it's not worth messing with. No one wants it. But postcards, it takes the right person online to be looking at a postcard. Just the way it is. It's like window shopping. You're not going to sell it, until the right person walks by and sees it. So don't ever be scared that, it's not going to sell or anything like that. You just put it up, leave it, and it's going to be residual income. For postcards to work the best, you have to have a bunch up, to make a big dent and, have a bunch of sales. You're not going to get a ton unless it's some real good card, right away. You have to have a bunch of them. Like for us, I only buy good cards or try to only buy good cards. So, we're going to already, have a step up on it. So, some of our cards sell the very first day we list them within hours. And almost every day we do list cards that some sell 5, 6 cards every day. And that's just how this works. So you list enough of these, you're going to get the gist of it, and you're going to sell a bunch of them right off the bat. That's just how this works. Postcards sell for us every day. Today alone, I sold 7 postcards already, and it's only 12 o'clock in the morning. So, it's not every day in the morning they sell like that. Last night we sold, I think, 4 from the ones we just listed, but that was almost $260 worth. So, postcards always sell. But that's about it. That's how we look for things.
Well, there you go. That's how I do most of my research. The majority of it, obviously Amazon and stuff are different on other sites, but for eBay, that is what I do for the most part. Hopefully you learned something from that. Hopefully that gives you some good takeaways and some real good information on how to set up pricing for your items, especially on some of the collectibles and vintage items that you may be finding now. But again, if you're not expanding your business, whether you do what I'm showing you or not, you need to expand it. You're going to do much better by expanding and have better opportunities in the future. Again, Don the Auction Professor, hopefully you have some takeaways from this. If you liked it, please hit the like button below, subscribe, and tell a friend.